Talking about geniuses, titled When I Found Glory in Silence. When I found glory in silence, with words creeping, making lesser sense, an eruption awaiting, they don't cross the fence. Tamed to the taste of power, empowering your soul, I seek to embrace you. What mighty wonders hiding behind sheets of beauty, music, as do have immortality, as the words follow notes to the pipers of your soul.
Nice.
Hello and welcome to Shuffling Notes. This is a channel where we discuss music, and I'm your co host for this episode, Razi.
And I'm your co-host, Prankit.
And today we'll be discussing the pipers of our soul, which is the pipers at the gates of dawn. I guess Prankit start. How do you? I've been a big Pink Floyd fan for quite some years now, and like really diving deep into pipers was kind of an ambitious thought, if I would say honestly, because I really wanted to understand how Pink Floyd came to be, which actually came to be. I mean, as I found out, it was as true as it can be, because Sid Barrett is the one who started the sounds of Pink Floyd, which we love in Pink Floyd now. And yeah, so uh, your impressions on Pipers?
Yeah, so I had never really heard of this album before, being honest. I'd heard, and I'd heard the album, like The Wall, Dark Side of the Moon, some of the later stuff. But yeah, Piper at the Gates of Dawn is an album that I wasn't very familiar with. However, listening to the tracks for this episode, I suppose, heard some of the tracks before, especially, I think, Astronomy, Domine, and perhaps a couple others. But I never really connected what album they were at. So this was really sort of a fresh perspective for me. And I have to say, it's different than what I thought it would be, firstly. And I think Sid Barrett might have a big hand in that,
Big,
possibly.
big hand,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's in a strange way, it sounds more British rock than I usually think Pink Floyd is.
um, British rock. Well, yeah. I would say this is the
Elements of the
starting of
track.
you know
Classic
Pink
British
Floyd
rock
started
is
out as a pop band, right? Well, trying to cover or trying to make pop songs, cover pop songs, and
yeah, yeah.
they just felt like they're not that. And I mean, this was in an interview with Roger Waters or um,
hmm
Rick Wright, someone. But this interview,
hmm
like they said that we just knew that we weren't meant for pop, and we have to do something. And
Yeah.
and at this point, like there was also this point when they were like picked out by the studios. I think Elektra picked them out. The same one as the Doors, which is
hmm
the same one as the Beatles. Yes, and
Yeah.
the producer, like, he saw Sid like playing these elongated, these sustained notes, rock notes, with his Zippo lighter, with like
hmm
with a cigarette in his mouth, which is like nearly halfway gone, and like he's playing it with
hmm
a Zippo lighter, and that just sort of uh, stuff like that, like it sort of introduce the band into doing something that just say kind of fuck it, like let's do it.
Yeah.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah. No, it's yeah, and I know the Beatles part as well. I think in one of the tracks, I guess some of the instruments they used or element of that track was inspired by them, I think, hearing Beatles record the day before or something. I remember reading something about that. But I think, yeah, this album as a whole, it is very
I mean, they recorded
unique
on Abbey
in the
Road
sense
itself,
of, I guess,
so
other...
it's just that, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, elements of it are much more sort of, I guess, classic British rock in a way than I had previously associated Pink Floyd music with. Still being very sort of, progressive and different sounding. I did read, I think it's the UFO Club, right, where they did find some success playing live. Otherwise, in the sort of traditional venues or places where they performed, there was always, I think, some roadblocks they hit. I read that there was like a Catholic youth club where the owner sort of refused to pay them because they said their performance wasn't music.
So I think it's so again this member of four people, which is well, first it was a band by Roger Waters. Roger Waters and Sid Barrett were two friends from Cambridge who used to love music, and Sid Barrett was the one who was into music completely, while Roger Waters never really dived into it, and then he went to London to study architecture, where he started a band with Rick Wright and Nick Mason. Rick Wright and Nick Mason being the prominent members. There were other members throughout, but these prominent members stayed. And then Sid Barrett came to London. They started, producing sound, and Sid Barrett like slowly took lead, and he just knew kind of where the sound should go. And mad genius, right? But
yeah. So I think, wasn't it originally they were called the Pink Floyd Sound, right? I think in the earlier days,
originally
in like 65 or so.
They actually came out to be called. I mean, it would have been weird to Dark Side of the Moon by the T set. It's So there were more names also given to Pink Floyd. I have it in my notes somewhere.
Yeah.
But the Pink Floyd specifically was Sid Barrett's favorite singers. One was Pink Anderson and Floyd Council. Like they were jazz players, I think, both of them. And
I think blues.
Like there was a. So that's what there's another fact which I did not read anywhere, but I got to know through a third party I was just chilling with. That Sid Barrett knew how to play the guitar, but he couldn't play it fast. So hence he played it so slow that it's music, it's Pink Floyd. Right, those sustained
it's a unique
notes
sound of it in itself.
Those sustained notes, like taking you through these psychedelic realms, and it's I don't know. This album to begin with, even though there were other songs, one being Arnold Lane, which was released by Sid Barrett.
Yeah,
it was not commercially a success because of what it was.
I think it was like a bit controversial, wasn't it? That one it had like a cross-dressing element that people didn't quite.
And I think some sexual connection, or I think I think a sexuality connection or sexual connection.
I mean, you got to think like especially back then. I guess it can be difficult to break into like the mainstream music scene with something like, so for a lack of a better word, edgy. Right, sounding as well as lyrically. Maybe it was a bit too much for people.
But
it's like I remember that scene in Back to the Future where Marty's like, your kids are gonna love this. When he plays right at the end, Johnny Be Good.
Damn it.
But it's a little like that, right? With them, I think especially the Pink Floyd early days before they could get the exposure, I guess they needed.
So when you when you asked me, okay, Pink Floyd, which album, and I just I had a lot of options to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Begin with like Dark Side of the Moon, like bam. But
Yeah.
I think Piper at the Gates of Dawn is important to understand and respect the roots it came from. The
Start at the
albums,
beginning.
yeah, starting at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's where Pink Floyd has come
Yeah.
from. Pink Floyd wouldn't have had the
Mm-hmm.
sound if Sid Barrett wasn't there. And
Yeah.
luckily, unluckily, Sid Barrett had to be only in this album.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's
Yeah.
sounds of his recordings played in other albums,
Yeah.
but this is the one where he's written, sang, played, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of, composed the whole.
Yeah. He was sort of almost like the front man, I guess,
For
in
this,
this
yeah.
in this album. But I think his influence is there, I guess, throughout their future albums as well.
Because David Gilmour, who came in right at
Yeah.
the end of this and the beginning of, I think, the next one, Amagama. I'm not sure. But like that's where David Gilmour was brought in by Sid Barrett himself. And he just kind of picked it up, and he picked it up quite right. Like I loved the Division Bell. But yeah, like obviously Roger Waters had his own play with there his some of there were 2 or 3 songs which Roger Waters wrote in this album, and they like one of them being the first one that was a hit for Roger Waters' first song,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I think
I didn't know that. So the first is that Astronomy
that's
Domine.
it.
Is that one also written by? Oh, that's it. I thought you said
No,
Roger Waters.
this album, like there are 2 or 3 songs which are written by.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
One is that
Yeah.
by Doctor. that's it. Roger Waters.
I think-
and
The take up thy stethoscope and
Yeah.
walk. Right.
that's
I think
the
that
Bible.
one.
Bible.
Yeah. Yeah. Doctor. Yeah.
That's another road to walk onto.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Yeah.
Besides that, some other facts, some like Sid started his guitar journey with the Apache guitar. I don't know what that looks like or how that is, and then they started with something called, as Roger Waters mentions, Futurama 3, which was the cheap Fender with a whammy bar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then he goes like, and you go like, dumbading.
Yeah.
And Sid in Cambridge played in a band called Jeff Martin, the Motos, and Roger Waters bought a Spanish guitar as his first guitar when he started studying architecture in London. And he wrote like I believe he wrote on the guitar like I believe in my soul.
Yeah.
And that was his jam. And then like there were more like American influences that sort of and there was a lot of, they wanted to be a pop band. They were influenced by jazz, pop, rock, and at the time it wasn't like a genre of music. It was one genre, which is American music. So they were into that as well. So
Yeah.
they used to hear it on the radios, and
Yeah.
they used to have these vinyls of these different records and stuff. And that's how they sort of started getting into. And I think somebody explained this very correctly, aptly to me, I would say, is that Pink Floyd is a bunch of sound engineers coming together. And right?
It's a very, very interesting way to put it. Yeah.
They just know this is going to work. Let's just do this. It's going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And there is like an aspect of, I guess, constant experimentation with sound as well, right?
So
not
like
just using instruments in the
second
traditional
album
sense.
after this,
but
after Pipers,
yeah,
Roger
yeah,
Waters' main focus to the band, which now had David Gilmour, was
hmm
that we'll we'll play instruments with household stuff. So
yeah,
they
yeah.
straightened out pans. They had those
That album I have heard. Yeah,
Amagama. I think it is. Not
yeah,
sure of
yeah.
the year, but yeah.
hmm
And yeah, then I besides this album, I really wanted to dive deep into Atom Heart Mother, which is one of
hmm
the albums where I love Atom Heart Mother, the first song. Um,
hmm
but again, like as I mentioned, this is important to explore.
Beginning,
It's
start at the
important to
beginning.
explore this
Yeah,
before we get into
yeah.
anything else. And
Excellent.
what I don't know. Besides, or rather, what did you expect? Let's before we jump into the track list. What did you expect out of the album?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to really expect going into it. But I mean, like I said, I think it's definitely, I think it's interesting because there's like a combination of these more improvisational and what I would say almost more Pink Floyd-esque sounds and tracks, which are like extended and like it's almost like it loses song structure halfway through or something. But then you also have those like little, I guess, shorter or snappier tracks,
Right.
right? Which almost sound more like your classic British rock type music. So it's an interesting combination of the two, where you have those like longer, improvised almost tracks combined with these snappier tracks, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of went in with no expectations. I didn't know what to expect because, yeah, like I said, this was an album I never really dove into. It was really the later albums that I've heard a lot more. So it was interesting.
There was something that Roger Waters said in one of the interviews, which just sort of chimed with me because I have the same feeling for good music,
Yeah.
which is the unpredictability of it while being combined with simplicity. And for example, like his dialogue was that the unpredictability of it combined with the simplicity is the beauty of it. So and that exactly was my definition of a good music, because you're listening to a track, you're listening for the first time, and you just kind of go like, oh wait, is this the same song, or is this am I tripping into another song? What's happening right now? But it goes so smooth,
definitely, and with the
and then you smooth back into the same song, and that's how you can sort of. That's how a song should be, like, making you travel through its experience, maybe, or travel through your own experience in its perspective, something like that. So that's how music transitions you. And for this, like for Syd Barrett was this mad genius who used to experiment with gas lights, and he used to like project gas lights, forgetting the gas name, but he used to project these gas lights on.
Did you mean like neon lights or something?
Not sure if it's neon lights, but not neon. It was a projector, like as Roger Waters explained. It was a projector that he used to, put it on the wall, and then we used to jam to that.
Like, you mean visually what they're seeing?
What they're seeing, it's basically like a Rorschach test, but like a animated Rorschach test, because it's a gaslight. So it just...
Yeah, so I think to that point about unpredictability, I think there's definitely an aspect of the album and the tracks in general, like subverting expectations a little bit, because, I mean, with the longer improvised tracks, as I put it, they are sort of different and you don't know what to expect. But even with like those shorter, snappier tracks, if you really pay attention to the lyrics, it's not It's not what you think. Like there's almost like, it's like that meme with the guy with the question mark. It's like, wait, what did he say? Wait, what is he singing about? Right. There's an element of that. If you're not paying attention, then yeah, you think like, okay, it's sort of
You know,
like a shorter mainstream sort of catchy tune or catchy song. But if you try to pay attention, and there's elements of music as well, like there's gunshots in one of the tracks, and the last one, right? I think bike or whatever. And it's again, it's like if you pay attention to the music or the lyrics, there's almost like a moment of being like, wait, what am I listening to? Or what is this guy going on about? So it's still
there's two things.
Like, unpredictable in that sense. So
of course, Sid Barrett's lyrics, which was simple, so simple, and as
childlike, it's childlike, almost like a child has written it. Sometimes
I think that was his idea to, and as Waters put it, like the way he, changed how we're making music was writing the lyrics with the music. As the music goes, is how the lyrics are, because they don't make sense. But, because lime and limpid, green is second scene.
It's almost like a rhyming
you just kind of
technique.
Just, looping into the same thing over and over. The sounds resounds, the icy waters
it's a bit,
underground.
like coming off, coming off Sigur Rós, there's that parallel, right? Where again, you're using the vocal sound as like music,
true,
right? And there's a little bit done in a different way, because this is obviously in English. But again, still the words are again just put in there to go with the music sometimes.
Pretty much. Because Sigur Rós is, they created their own language because they're part of the 21st century.
It's very different, but there's a parallel, I feel like, in the sense of how differently the vocals are treated.
The 21st century, while this is 60s.
You know what? In fact, I would argue, like in this album especially, like the vocals are treated. So like what Sigur Rós does, and we kind of discussed this in the previous video, was the vocals were like an instrument, right? The voice and the language and everything. It was treated like an instrument. And in some of the tracks, the instruments were based around the vocals, while other tracks, the vocals were around the instrumentals. And the same thing is going on here, because on some of the tracks, with the beatboxing and the sound effects and doctor. So it's like the voice is being used as an instrument, right? To the same level, where there's no distinction between the instruments that the band has and the vocals. It's just like one of the things in their arsenal, like the guitar and the drums and the organs.
It's it was, to be honest, it was very difficult for me to make the notes for this album. Because I love the songs. I listen to the songs over and over. Mm-hmm. But that's what I do. Right? I will listen to the songs over and over. I don't know what. Mm-hmm. There have been so many times that I've started writing like, there's a drum roll, like there's a point, like, there's a drum roll and there's a drum roll and that's where my notes stopped, and I see it in the morning that, I have to
drifted off.
Do that again. And then drum roll at, and then actually being able to get out of that music zone and go and see the timestamp was a task for me, until I had the pressure to actually do it, because I wanted to do it. I really want this to be out there, spoken. That this is a great album to begin with for Pink Floyd fans and for people who won't mind being Pink Floyd fans. So we can. One more fact is that the producer of this album, and I think the ones after this, they tried to so
Norman Smith, right?
Not sure of the name, but I think it
was Norman Smith.
The goal was to try and record Pink Floyd sound live.
Capture that live essence.
Live essence.
Yeah, I remember reading about this.
Because they
Like they removed those what do you call it? Those screens that like when band
Yeah,
members perform
yeah.
for recording, right? So you got the echo coming in,
Like
bouncing off the
that's what
walls.
they wanted, and because
Yeah,
that's how
yeah,
Pink Floyd did well. And
mm,
I think
yeah,
even stuff like astronomy, domine, it's like it's coming from the sounds resound from everywhere kind of thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So anyway, starting with the first track of the album, which is Astronomy Domine. The song starts with the producer's voice reading names of constellations, like that sound which is like kind of
Hmm.
inaudible, but it's there.
Like
And
a radio voice. Yeah,
the
some sort of
radio
like
voice, yeah.
dookie talkie.
And then you get off with the beep,
Yeah,
like the beeps, and
yeah.
that sound resounds only around the globe, and it's like
Hmm.
it's a. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like a dot connecting all world and just coming together, and
Hmm.
it's a trip. That's where the trip starts.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think like especially the intro of the song, the way it starts off, for me, it immediately just like transports me to like a space shuttle launch or a rocket launch or something,
Yeah.
because it almost sounds like because you can hear like this
Kind of,
faint
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
voice over the radio doing the final checks, and then the beeping starts, right?
I think that sort of comes
and
in the
like
second section of it, where it's like you feel this sort of launch moment when he's like it's the second
I think
time
the
I
lift
think.
off comes
Yeah.
later, which is like the beat, the rhythm as well, which is sort of because like if you look at the rhythm, like in this track specifically, it's not like a normal beat. It's just build up, build up, build up. Like the whole track, the beat and the rhythm, it just acts like a build up, and then you have like that crescendo, right? And
Yeah,
like I don't know
yeah.
if that's a chorus, but like yeah, like going downwards, and then it's build up, build up, build up again, and the beat never really like there's no like like a normal drum
I
roll,
don't think
and then
there's
you
a
get to a
beat to
normal
the
rhythm.
song.
It
I think
just
the whole song is just
yeah,
like a whirlpool,
yeah,
right? It's just
mm, yeah,
that's the whole
yeah,
song right here, and even the lyrics just they don't make sense. They have no deeper meaning if you're looking for it. It's just a good
space,
it's just a good song.
yeah,
It takes you
hmm,
like you falling down to the earth with the um, lime and limpid green a second scene. You're just
hmm,
falling down to the
yeah,
earth, floating down. The sounds resound the white icy waters underground. So that's like you're falling down. You hear the
hmm,
waters in the ground,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're going through it, and then Jupiter, and like you
yeah,
just kind of like you went through the earth, you went like you poked through it, and that's where you are. You see Jupiter, then you're seeing
hmm,
these moons of Saturn and Jupiter, and just going through it, and it's a trip. It's an acid trip. Astronomy
yeah,
Domine is
yeah,
just an acid trip.
yeah. And actually, one of the things in this track, I think, and it's true for like a lot of the other tracks as well, is like they really use that stereo effect, and it adds to that again, that like almost whirlpool feeling in this song, I guess, and the lift off sort of build up, right, that they've got. So I think at like the 1 minute 40 second mark, it to me like that part of the track, it almost like to me it's like a rocket engine in the left channel, like about to take off. And again, you're not. This is not any like they start off with such a, for lack of a better word, I'll say awkward song, in the sense that it's not like a normal pop song. It's like if you
It's
start an
not a normal
album and you've
song,
never heard of Pink
right?
Floyd or this type of music, and this is what you hear, you'll be like, what am I listening to? It just takes you right on this trip, like you were saying, through space. But to the lyrics, and I think again, there's not really like a lot of sense in the lyrics. Like it's not, it's just space associated stuff. But to me, it kind of sounds like almost like they're praying to space. And originally, I think the track was called. They had like in brackets. They had an astral chant, so it's almost like that, right? It's like a chant, a prayer almost, and with the music, there's like that tribal aspect to it, along with all the electronic sounding music
I
they've
don't
got
know.
with the beats.
Again, like coming down to the fact that they're sound engineers, I guess. Just
Yeah.
making sense of adding these beats to the
Yeah.
song or
Yeah.
to this music or adding guitar riffs to it for both bass and
Yeah.
lead. And even Rick Wright says that it was Syd Barrett who influenced him to kind of
Yeah.
just kind of go wild with the keyboard, play notes that you don't know. Because they might sound good,
Yeah.
so like why not? So that's how the whole band started forming up, and I guess it's a good example to see of Sid's lead in astronomy domain,
Yeah.
and it's a I don't know, it's again, like it's got that whirlpool feel in the song. The whole song is just a loop of whirlpools over and over. And just
it's an interesting opening
again
track.
a
but I think
very
it definitely,
simple song, for example, of Syd Barrett's writing.
Yeah.
Right. So, do you have anything to add to astronomy, Dom?
No, yeah, I think you summed it up quite well.
Wait. I feel.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting opening track to like start off with, but I think for anything it just like sets the tone for the rest of the album.
Exactly.
But also it's kind of gets you a bit excited with like that almost lift off, like I say. It sort of brings you to a place where you're like ready to get into it.
It is. Yeah. So then, like, that's what, like, coming down to Lucifer Sam, which is the next song. So I'd want your take on this. Like, what do you think of Lucifer Sam?
Well, interesting song. I think I'll put the lyrics aside for a bit because they're very specific in its way about something and also non-specific. But I think as a song as well, it's interesting because, again, this is not... Now we're getting into a territory where I was like, I didn't quite expect this type of music. I don't when I went into it, although I kind of went into the album without any expectations as such. But it's very interesting, right? It's got like almost, I call it like a James Bondy vibe, with like that guitar riff. Yeah, like it's very slick,
detective,
let's say.
The detective. I think this again, like it is like
it is that 60s thriller, spy thriller,
nailing these 60s 70s artists as the pioneers. I mean, they're the pioneers for a reason. For example, like there's another song, "Wearing the Inside Out," which is like, that's the romance music which is still taking over. When we get to it, But yeah. Like this is one of I think the early. It's a chase song. It's a chase. The whole song's a chase.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Like, why do you think it is Lucifer Sam? And what do you think of the lyrics here? We will get into the music.
Well, I had to look this up. I believe it's about his cat, right? Like Siamese cat he had, and I think there's like a reference in there to his Syd Barrett's then time girlfriend and stuff as well.
Jenny, yeah.
But I mean, I only know about this stuff because I had to read it up. But like just listening to the lyrics, I had no idea what he's singing about. When I read it, I can sort of see, it is about a cat, right? And like a very moody cat at that, I guess. But otherwise, I'd just be lost, I guess, unless I really sort of went through the lyrics. But I think to me, I was kind of more glued to this song, especially because of the music. Right, there's like that guitar solo that kicks in at the 1 minute 30 second mark. And again, that sound, it's like, it sounds like he's picking it really quickly, but I think it's like some sort of sped up, like wow, wow effect on the guitar, right? It's like he's playing it underwater or something. I don't know. It sound like, if you try and put it into words of what that guitar sounds like.
I mean,
But it's just very interesting, I think, musically. It's fun.
Waters mentioned this in one of the interviews where, that you would imagine people doing things with the whammy bar, and but that's not what Sid would do with the whammy bar.
Yeah,
like that's what
so
the game was.
Did he do this with the whammy bar? Do you know this guitar solo effect he did?
I'm not. I
wonder.
Not sure.
I don't think it's a whammy bar, but it could be.
Because
you
that's
have to
what
go really fast on
that's
it. Yeah.
What it like. That's what he said. Like he did stuff with the whammy bar that you wouldn't imagine doing, but he liked doing
in a very unique way,
'cause,
using the guitar. Yeah.
So exactly, like he's playing the guitar with a zippo where you would rather use a capo or something. But that's Sid Barrett. Also, so this song was originally called Percy the Ratcatcher. And
I did read
then
that.
During the recording, that was during the recording sessions. Then
is Percy the name of his cat? That would make sense. Percy the Ratcatcher, right?
I knew he had a Siamese cat, which I also know through like I read a few Reddit comments on Siamese cats, and they actually said like that's
you were like deep diving into Reddit for this.
I mean, that's how you get to know the alleged stuff.
Yeah.
So there were people who said like I've owned Siamese cat and they're possessive about me. They won't come in front of anyone else except when I'm there alone, and stuff like that. Like that's their kind of nature. So that also kind of shows in the lyrics, which he's the left side, you're the right side, because he's right there while you're right there, and oh no, he's back there again, because you won't know, like you won't see the cat coming, but he'll be there. Like that's how people explained it on Reddit, at least. And like then
I think just on that point as well, it's very interesting, and I guess this goes to Sid Barrett. Like, writing can be difficult for people, right? And it can be difficult to like find a muse or get inspired or write. But this guy, he's writing about the space, and then he's just writing about his cat. It's not even like a dedicated song that my cat is majestic and this. It's just this is what the cat is. Now it's on your left. Now it's on your right. It's back there. he's just writing what's happening, and it's a song, right? Yeah. Exactly right. So it's very interesting. I think. I guess what his process was to write some of this stuff.
I think it was quite simple. It was just like, if it rhymes, it rhymes.
The writing is like the music. It's improvisational, and I say that in a good way.
But I don't think the writing especially would have been improvisational. I think the music might have.
No, it's not. But it sounds right. It's like you're writing it. You're not like going over it with like a magnifying glass and being like, "Oh, I need to change this line." I need to make this sound better. It kind of sounds like it came to him. He just wrote it, which is like a lot of the music. It sounds like it came to them. They just like they came up with it, and that's it. They weren't like going over it and trying to produce it and make it sound better or more mainstream. It was just like, this is what it is. This is what we have.
I think, true for this, but I think as they have done it so far, like, doing it good live rather than being able to record is because I think there's a feeling of that one life moment, that this is my one shot and let's hit that right. Like that's how they've worked so far, even in other projects like the Pompeii series, like the Pompeii, which
Mm-hmm.
was a series of songs which they recorded in Pompeii in 1972, I think.
Yeah.
But we will
I'm
get
watching
into
on
that.
YouTube
But
or
yeah,
something
it's
recently.
gonna
Yeah.
be. I mean,
Yeah.
the way they did it, like you actually seeing them. It's just Pink Floyd and the cameraman in Pompeii.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how they're recording. That's how they're playing
And they're
it.
just going at
That
it.
that's
Yeah.
how they're just enjoying making
Mm-hmm.
music, and that's what they're showing. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that also comes out in this first album itself. That it's fun because
Yeah.
it's a I
Yeah.
have a Siamese cat, and it's like because by the name, without researching that there's a Siamese cat and they have this behavior, and he wrote he probably wrote it about his Siamese cat with a reference to his ex-girlfriend, etc. But just the
Mm-hmm.
first impression of the song was Lucifer Sam. He's the left side, you're the right side. It felt like the two immaculate angels, the ones on the
Yeah. Yeah.
shoulders.
Yeah.
It did
Yeah.
give
The
that
angel and the
feeling in the
devil. Yeah.
first listen or the first few listens. And then
Mm-hmm.
I started researching into it, and
Yeah.
then that was like it's actually about a Siamese cat, and that's how it goes. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that made more sense. But again, because like coming from astronomy domain and then going with stuff
Yeah.
like just saying random names of astronomical bodies and just going,
Mm-hmm.
then it makes sense that okay, this can be just about his cat, which is quite the
Yeah.
simple way
Yeah.
to go about it, rather than thinking like Lucifer Sam could mean the immaculate
Overthinking it. Yeah.
angels, and
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
so much shit happening, but that's not what it
Yeah.
is. It's his cat
Mm-hmm.
who used to just kind of come up here and there, and he probably was deep into acid when he wrote the song. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
Yeah.
that's also when he lost it.
Watching his
But
cat.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
so then we've got after Lucifer Sam, we've got another Barrett's writing, which is Matilda Mother. So the song is mostly sung by Richard Wright, with Barrett joining in the last verse. And the song is actually based on a book called Cautionary Tales for Children by Edward Gorey and Hilary Belloc Pellick. And yeah, the as I've got here, the book contains some warped fairy tales where all manner of horrible things happen to the poor but naughty kids. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
poor but they're naughty, and horrible things are happening to them. And one of these children was named Matilda.
So actually, so one of the things I also read around that is that the estate Belloc's estate denied the request for them to use those specific lyrics from and those specific things from the books. So they had to Barrett Steele.
Mm-hmm.
Go फिर से start करो. Okay. So yeah, actually, to that point, one of the things I read was that Belloc's estate actually denied their request to use the lyrics and the words from the books. So they had to, well, he had to sort of rewrite it around that. But I think some of the themes are still there, right? It's just, I guess, done in a way so it's not infringing on any copyright. But there's definitely, I think, in this song again, the music, it again brings me back to like a more like almost like Led Zeppelin or like the Rolling Stones style music.
Childish. I think
Yeah.
it's the first time I heard Matilda Mother was like
Mm-hmm.
it really felt like reading out from a storybook, which it is. And like there's this organic instrument which kind of starts at 122,
Yeah.
which has like a tune of an Arabian
Yeah.
kind of feeling.
I think that's also the point where the
It's a guitar.
vocals start in the
It's
left
like
channel,
an
right?
Arabian
Like
guitar tune.
like that
And
that sort of
and I think that is the point
yeah.
where, so okay, let's start with the story. So the story starts with there was a king who ruled the land. His Majesty was in demand, and that's how it goes. And
Yeah.
then the oh Mata,
Yeah, it's like you're
me.
asking your
That's
mom to
how
read it
you
out,
will
right?
want
Like
to know the
yeah.
story, like right, like when you
Yeah.
when you're like 8 years old or 10 years old,
Yeah.
6 years old, you'll just want to know, like, okay, tell me more. Like if there was a king who ruled the land, His Majesty was in command, and what happened next? And that's how it goes, and that's when the how I'm forgetting the
Yeah.
like that's how the that's how you would sleep, or that's how a parent sleeps.
Yeah.
Because if you notice the lyrics, they kind of descend to this one point where this sound starts coming in with Sid Barrett, like fucking up with the vocals. And and he's just like
it's an interesting way to see it.
The parent sleeps in between the story, because that's exactly
like
how a parent breathes, or rather snores, when they've fallen asleep in that position, because that's how the like it just kind of goes in that nostalgia zone, which however it is, however and then again after this sleeping pattern is broken, the child wakes up again and he's like, oh mother, tell me more. And also the part where why did you have to leave me here lying in this infant air? Right, like, because you slept. That's not what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to tell me the story. Please tell me the story. Tell me more. Right, it's childlike. It's like
persistent.
What in Hindi it's called is ziddi. How is it? Greedy. Like persistent, greedy. You just want to know more. Tell me more. Oh mother, tell me more. That's how that's. And I really felt that's how the story really goes, because that's the sleeping part in between, when a lot of times parents do sleep
also not
while
just that,
telling the story.
I mean, I guess if it's like a bedtime story is how I interpreted it. It's like it's a he's imploring his mother to tell him more, because like she's reading a bedtime story and it's like, okay, now time to go to bed. But it's also at the same level, right? She falls asleep, which is not a way how I viewed it, but it does fit in with the song and the music. And then, he wants to hear more, and it's him sort of living through that childhood memory in a way, right? So I think, with that, so again, it's one of those things with the lyrics. It's very different from what you'd expect a song to be about. And without context, if you're listening for the first time, you might be a little lost as to like, what are they even singing about? But I think musically, to me, like, for example, the intro, and it could be because I've heard these other songs so many times, but like the intro is very reminiscent to me of like it's got this grand opening to it, and it's almost like a Stairway to Heaven style opening. And then even like, later in the later in the song, it reminds me of like Paint It Black by Rolling Stones, like so it's got that type of like I don't know if it is or not. But my point is, the sound.
Is older than Paint
It
Black,
feels like it belongs to that like era of that type of rock music, right?
True. That's a
60s and then 70s almost.
I mean, if it is not made, I mean, if Painted Black, which I think probably came after this album, then well, you've got
Yeah. I mean, it's
the
definitely
music of
either
the
way. I
future.
think it's captured that era quite well, but it's just one of those things where generally other Pink Floyd songs, and it's probably because I've heard those other songs so much more. Whenever I hear them, they're distinctively Pink Floyd. Like I can't even mistake it for like a song from another band. But some of the tracks on in this album, they definitely to me remind me of like some other like bands and music and artists and even music from that era. Like some of the later songs we'll get into, it's almost to me like a Beatles style music. But there's a lot of diversity because not all the songs sound the same. Like this song is quite different from like Astronomy, Domine, right? Or even so even like Lucifer Sam. So it's got its own unique thing going. But yeah, it is reminiscent of that. But again, they use that voice like sound effect, right? Almost like using it like an instrument. And there is at just about the 2 minute mark, and I think it's like an awkward tape edit, which we sort of spoke about a little bit in our Beatles video, where the way they used to mix it and edit it, and you can almost hear like the tape cut off and a new tape start. But at that 2 minute mark, there's a little bit of awkwardness to how it's edited there. But yeah, I mean the track again, amazing use of stereo as well with like the voice in your left ear. Very interesting, I think, musically, and a combination of different styles and like genres of music. It anyways has like a very unusual, yeah. Sorry.
Experimenting with whatever you can, I guess. Like whatever they could experiment with is what they did.
Yeah. I mean, like it's
whatever,
if you think like even the way the guitars are played, if I'm remembering correctly, like in this track, I don't think they really ever play like a proper chord. Like they like play strings, individual notes, or individual notes of a chord, but you don't really hear like a full strummed chord, I think, in this track, or not that often anyway. So it is still very uniquely done, right?
I mean, Matilda Mother is again like I had a lot of complicated meanings for it, but rather that isn't, because anyway is a story. Like it's anyways like a fictional child, children book story, and but yeah, like again Matilda Mother, because Matilda being so famous of the lies and the story of lies and stuff, and then Matilda Mother coming together, like it just had this very different, maybe a different meaning to it if it wasn't just a story, just a few lines from the children's story, which is cautionary tales for children. But it has this gripping feeling where I don't know, it's nostalgic, it's gripping, it's
Pink Floyd.
Rock, it's pop, it's a lot of things. And then it's also experimental. It's also Pink Floyd. It's experimental, like the way the vocals go, and that's Sid Barrett going the so that's Sid Barrett going, because just thinking of these sounds to be good, it doesn't make sense if you think about it just like that, unless you're like, oh, why not? But Matilda Mother, I think the music is like captivating in the there's a serpent feeling to the music, if that makes sense, right? Maybe because of the Arabian
I think what you
There's
when
like
you say
a
serpent music, what it reminds me of, like,
flute kind of instrument also played in
I
the
forget
song, right?
what is it called? You know that flute like instrument they play for, like, and you have like the cobra getting up. Um, yeah, it's got that type of feeling to it.
The
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the part where I think that
yeah,
that comes right after
yeah.
the like right after that, like that joins in, and
We'll put some
then
visual
the song
cues if you're
continues.
watching this on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you don't know what we're talking about.
Then
Yeah.
then we've got the next song after Matilda Mother, which is Flaming.
Yippee, you can't see me, but I can you.
I think Flaming is where I can point out
Hmm.
that Pink Floyd goes trippy with its music in sections, because it's happened in the section in the songs before this, but
Hmm.
in this one it kind of makes more sense, with
Yeah.
using even lyrics like "Yippee, you can't see me, but I can you."
Hmm.
And also, like, there's like this toy sounds of the clapper, and there's there's it's like a successful experiment by Rick, Sid, and a little bit of Nick Mason here and there. But yeah, like I think
Yeah.
that's how it's a trippy song. Mainly consists of the trippy part of that such and such and such and such happened, but yippee, you can't see me, but I can you.
Hmm.
And also the childlike innocence in the
Yeah, no,
song.
you're very right there. Like,
Kind of stood
it's
out.
there's definitely like that child.
Yeah,
Even the
you tell
lyrics,
me.
firstly, with like everything the child's talking about, or well, Sid is talking about. It's got that childlike imagery, but I think the music is it also gives it like a very. It feels like a very dreamy song. Like, you start off with like that whistly, wind sort of sound at the beginning. And then, as the song progresses and transitions, like at the 1 minute 33-second mark, the music that is used there is it's like if you watch
Yeah.
movies from that era, they were used to like transition to like dream sequences, like those almost like bells whistling sort of thing, right? And it's got that, it's like you're flashing back into a childhood memory, and there's a lot of it, and then you sort of, I guess, fall deeper into the dream, because the song, at the 1 minute 40-second mark, the song sort of starts to go offbeat, and I think 10 seconds
Yeah.
after that, it's like the song is completely offbeat. You even forget there's drums playing in like the right channel, because it just sounds like noise. And it's like everything sort of all structure sort of slowly, dissolving into a dream. So I feel it's very much like the music in this track is
Yeah.
like trying to sort of
True.
portray that you're sort of dreaming and remembering something from your childhood, and then the lyrics sort of play into that a little bit. But it's very different. It's not what you again, coming off the previous song, Matilda Mother. This is so different. It's almost like its own thing, right? The line carrying between those songs, I think, is like the lyrics are still, I guess,
I've
like
actually just got
childlike. It's about Matilda Mother as well, but still, Flaming, I think, sits quite uniquely within the album. Yeah.
I think now that we're in the fourth song of the album. It's like it kind of sits well, because now we know that like the three songs with
Yeah.
just some random experiments of music pieces, and and this is one of it. And
Yeah.
this sort of goes very deep into the experiment side of music.
Mhm.
And like I've got like those three verses written,
Nice.
which is yippee,
Yeah.
you can't see me, trippy. So that's and that's just how it feels like, you know. It's, and all of these songs have these sections which I
Yeah.
have found really difficult to mark.
Like you
because
can't put your
they're
finger on it, you
trippy.
mean? Yeah.
Like, you know, like all the 11
Yeah.
songs. Yeah, like all the 11 songs have this section of maybe a minute or maybe 30 seconds, but it's trippy. Like it's, you
Yeah.
know, you're
Yeah.
tripping balls, but that's it. Like you are tripping balls. So yeah, but that was flaming. And coming down to the next one, which is
Mhm.
a different song, a different name. It's called Power Talk Edge. So it's been said that Power Talk Edge, as I've read in interviews and articles, that Power Talk Edge was like a conscious effort by the band to produce a sequel to Interstellar Overdrive.
Interesting.
And the title by Roger Waters is is actually meaningless.
Yeah.
Power Talk Edge was the Army
Yeah.
signaler's code for TH, which was for the Talbot House, a club where officers and enlisted men were equals.
Mhm.
And it later became an interdenominational Christian fellowship organization.
Yeah.
And yeah, blah blah blah. But like, but Power Talk Edge was added for no reason than it sounded right, according to Roger Waters.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I read that about the name as well,
That-
but
that
I
was
had
it.
no idea what the connection would be to the song, and I think this shows this sort of explains
Because
it a
this
little
was
bit. Yeah.
this was actually a music experiment performed by them in Amsterdam.
I see,
sometime. And this was part of that. And this part was like taken up by Roger Waters and
Yeah.
just thrown into the album because it, again, as it says, like it sounded
Yeah,
right.
and I think this is the track that I was talking about earlier in relation to Beatles. I think Nick Mason sort of heard the Beatles record Lovely Rita, and he was sort of inspired a little bit by like the music and like the voice effects in that. And you know, so they recorded they recorded it, I think, during a similar time frame as that song being recorded. So there were some influences in the way, like, I guess, what Nick Mason sort of brought to the table in the song. But it's interesting because I think in this song, they really go all out with the voice stuff, right? Like using vocals as an instrument. Like the vocals are almost like the main instrument in this song, because even like the beats and the rhythm and...
I think today
Yeah.
these vocals would be digitally produced,
Yeah, you'd imagine. Yeah.
right? Than Waters and Sid Barrett
Yeah.
actually going to the mic and going like,
Yeah.
woo!
And you know, it's interesting because it's sort of, again, firstly there's like this stereo use as well, like, you know, 36 seconds onwards, like it's completely in the right channel. Like the whole song is like playing out of the right channel, which is usually you don't get with tracks because they're mixed, or they'll be like center panned. And then, you know, the way it feels improvisational at points, because like the way, and in a good way, because like the guitar would, you know, you'll hear like a random guitar string, like 1 minute 22nd minute mark, there's like a random guitar string playing, and then just disappears. And then at the 1 minute 44-second mark, the left channel comes back, because everything you'd be hearing up to this point is in the right channel. So it's like the way they went about it and the way it's all mixed and put together, makes it so unique. Like no one in their right minds would mix a song like that, is what I feel. You know? It's like they really, set out to do something that like is unique, and they really did. And with
Yeah,
the voice as well,
because
like
when
using the voice as
instead
like
of putting
I want to say like at the 4 minute 10 second mark, to me that sounds like it's a guitar solo, like a crazy, Eddie Van Halen type guitar solo being played with your voice, because it's just the vocals and it sounds like it's a guitar just like shredding, uh, but it's just them portraying it with their voice. So
but I like personally love the rhythmic psychedelic
yeah,
bit at like 310 with the dun dun dun
yeah,
dun dun
yeah.
dun 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 dun, dun. And like that
Hmm.
sort of carries on. And besides that, Waters mentioned once that Sid Barrett, like the way Sid Barrett sort of showed the band this way that can be taken is when the band knew that they can't copy
Yeah,
anyone. It's got to be their own
yeah.
sound, and they just knew they can't copy because there were lots of pop bands and rock
Yeah.
bands and
I mean,
alt
music
rock
was
and
like, it went through this
stuff
whole
coming
like
up.
almost renaissance in like the 60s, 70s, right? There was
60s,
like a
yeah. I mean,
whole,
60s is the time for
yeah,
music that we listen
yeah,
today. But yeah, like that's what he mentions, that
mm,
that we couldn't copy
yeah,
anyone. We had to do our own thing,
yeah,
and that, like, the way he said it was, it's just set in stone. Like, we
hmm,
can't. That's not possible
yeah,
for the invalid entry.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, like, stuff like that. Like, it it kind of really pushed me deeper and deeper into understanding Sid
hmm,
Barrett. And yeah, like, there's been a lot of he's gone through different family traumas,
hmm,
psychological
yeah.
traumas,
Sort of
and
shaped him in a unique way.
in a unique way enough to have him take 7 strips of acid
Wow.
in 7 days.
Yeah.
That's what is assumed to have
Hmm.
cracked him open, or cracked him up for to be able to perform with Pink Floyd
Hmm.
anymore. But
Him having to
yeah,
leave.
like, that's 7 days of acid is what kind of just fucked him over, kind of. But so basically, how it was that he used to stand in front of, like, as the producer used to say, action, or recording, or rolling, or however. But and he used to be like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And like, I've seen interviews of all three, of Waters, Mason, and
Hmm.
some at some points Gilmore,
Hmm.
at some points Gilmore, and mainly like the Roger Waters, Mason, and
Rick Wright.
Rick
Yeah.
Wright. Yeah, and these three, like, they just said, like, he used to stand there and go like, yeah, let's do this, let's do another one.
Hmm.
And then as soon as the producer used to say, like, let's start recording, he used to just stand there, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what at, that wasn't it. Actually, there was another point where he suggested to bring in choir girls into the song, and because that'll, something like
Hmm.
that, choir girls, or a choir where it wasn't needed.
Hmm.
And that's where Waters knew that, that's it.
Yeah.
I can't play with you anymore.
Yeah.
Like, there's this point where he kind of just knew that we can't do this anymore,
Hmm.
and just quit. And that's when they asked him leave, and we'll get back to that story when we do Wish You Were Here. But
Yeah.
but yeah, then like there's a lot of things that happened with the band during the recordings of this album and during the recordings of this album, the marketing of this album, and then after that, and before they could set into the next album, is when they had to leave MB and they had to start on with David
Is
Gilmour.
that Saucer Full of Secrets or something? Yeah, I think.
I think Saucer Full of Secrets was the next one where Barrett had decided, Waters had decided to use home instruments. But so after Pow R Talk H, which is take up the stethoscope and walk.
Thy stethoscope.
Yeah, but that's the Bible verse which says, Jesus saith unto him, rise, take up thy bed and walk. That's where the title comes from.
John 5:8.
So this was the first song that Roger Waters wrote for Pink Floyd. And the title is taken from the Bible's passage 5:8. And it's I think this was the one which is only written and composed by Waters, and this was his first attempt. And I think
he sang as well, right?
It wasn't bad. Yeah. I mean, Waters even did the Power Talk H. He didn't write it, but I mean, there's no writing in Power Talk H. But he just kind of makes those sounds with the high pitch frequency. But in this again, he had this sort of different feeling to it. It's sort of, the song takes place in a hospital setting where the patient is in great pain, and the lyrics aren't making much sense as as it goes, flowers red, tables wet, it's just things that someone would say maybe on morphine or some kind of that kind of drug, because it's just delusional. It's not in the right direction, and that's what the lyrics are all about. And as I do see, it's at 2:14, it's there's this point where the patient goes crazy, right? There's this shout sound, and then you sort of break into this crazy noise.
I think it's you said 2-minute 14-second mark, right?
2:14,
and then I think 5 or 6 seconds after that, the audio starts swapping between the channels, and it's being delirious. If you're just listening to it on headphones, you really feel delirious. What is happening left and right is all confused. And I think the music and, as you said, the lyrics as well, they really try and bring that out. I think before that as well, at the 1-minute 50-second mark, there's this musical interlude that sort of just goes on. And it just is the only thing I can imagine is you're just tripping. Whether it's morphine or whatever state you're in, you're not there. You're not all there, you're sort of somewhere else. And I think the music really portrays that in this song, along with the lyrics. The thing about the lyrics is a lot of the tracks in this album, the lyrics are they're not, again, written to make a lot of sense. So I think maybe that, and when I was listening to it, that part of it was a little lost on me, because I thought, well, they're abstract or they're like that anyway. But then the music and all of it, and also, if you pay attention, it's he's saying doctor, doctor, right? that sort of whisper, doctor. And so, you can start to piece it together. And then if you listen to the lyrics, it's almost like it reminded me of when we did that My Chemical Romance album, right? Because that had a lot of hospital theme in it with the patient.
Yeah.
And it sort of took me back a little bit.
Yeah.
I do wonder though, like, I don't know what the context of that Bible passage, the John 5:8, the Jesus saith unto him, rise, take up thy bed and walk. I've got it written down here because that's what the title's based off, but I don't actually have context as to like what that passage is, and whether there is a deeper, I guess, relationship to this track.
Again, I don't think like that's also what I read. Like the song isn't supposed to make much sense.
Yeah.
It's like that some patient is suffering and is in crazy pain, and like there's this hypnotic circle, like like he's just in this loop kind of thing, which the song is, which is doctor, and then like you just go in that drive again and you come back to doctor. That's the loop. But I think this is and as I read, like a lot of other fans and comments say that this felt like a warm-up to Interstellar Overdrive, which is quite aptly put, because it really feels like, this is a song where you're in pain, or you're looking for a fixture for your remedy, for a remedy for your pains, or however, but if you ask me the details of why I love the song, I will respectfully react like Sid Barrett did to his producers when they said start recording.
But I think this song, firstly, coming off the previous song, it definitely takes that improvisational nature it had and the experimentation to like a next level. But that starting off that intro riff, that sort of repeats for like the first minute. It just got me hooked like as soon as I heard it. And it does carry on for like a little bit before some of the improvisation sort of kicks in, right? But it's I think this is definitely, to me, one of the, I mean, a lot of them are, but this is one of the more like standout songs in this album as well, because I guess especially today, everything can be a bit overproduced. Like it needs to sound slick and perfect and not, but this is very raw. Like the way the song is put together again is so raw, and
it's musical.
Yeah, and I mean in this type of like improvisational or psychedelic improvisational track, like there's not really such a thing as mistakes. Like it's part of the track, and there's moments in the song where like people are doing, different band members are sort of doing their own thing.
Random shit. Like they're doing random shit. Like everyone's playing their own music. Everyone's playing their own chord. Like there's Rick Wright coming up with like the tat.
Yeah.
And then, then the bass and the lead.
So
and
I think the music, because it starts off with that like almost like a rock feel with the riff, right? And then once you get to like the 2-minute 20-second mark, you have that like guitar beeping in the right channel. And the song sort of at that point, I think, just starts to like just transition into something else completely. And it does that like so many times, like 3-minute 40 seconds to 3-minute 45 seconds. There's like for that 5-second moment, there's almost like a jazz feel to it. There's got like a slick, like there's a drum roll, and you almost feel it's like a jazz band coming together. And it's such a long track as well, right? Compared to the other ones.
It's about 9-10
Yeah, it's like 9-minute 40 seconds.
It's like at there's this drum roll
Yeah.
which comes in, and then there's 840 where you just back into the track.
Mhm.
Like, there's this whole trip that they take you from, I think, about 8 minutes or 7:30.
So when it
where,
starts coming
where
back,
you just kind of, and then at 8:40 they start with the drum roll, and then
So actually to that
just
point,
back into the
it's
track.
very interesting because like as I was saying, it goes through those transitions, right? And you got some like stereo effects at like the 6.5 minute mark, but so at the 7 minute 25 second mark onwards, you can hear the bass in the right channel, and it's like descending, right? Like the notes are descending. And then like 5 seconds after that, you start hearing like an organ as well in the left channel. Again, it's like descending. Then there's like another organ, like which is pan center, which instead of descending is like ascending. So again, it's creating this eerie feeling, but it sounds familiar because most of the music is like, it's got this descending tone. And then at the 8 minute 11 second mark, that riff from the intro starts to come back, and that riff is also descending, right? Like, and that's when I think it all starts coming back together, and it's done in such a way that, like, if they did it in reverse, and I don't mean like play the track in reverse, but if you take each individual element of the music and put it in reverse order, it'll be like you start with order, which is how the song started, and it started like dissolving into chaos. And the way that chaos sort of comes together is just, I'd be really, surprised. I haven't looked into it too much, but into like the creative process behind this song, because I think most of it was improvisation. But I feel like this 7 to 8 minute part, either like it all just came together like magically, at least it feels like, right? Into that riff, or maybe some of it was planned, like, okay, this is how we're going to bring it all back together. But it definitely, there's like this unique way it comes back. You don't expect it.
I mean, Interstellar Overdrive kind of just it always had this. First of all, like the name has this pull to it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
What do you mean
Interstellar
Interstellar
Overdrive?
Overdrive? But okay, that's what you mean. But like it's got a lot of features in it which which don't make it a regular song, which don't make it a regular pop song. The whole song is a trip, and it's a trip. I think Interstellar Overdrive I'd rather than to the previous song, which is
Take up thy
stethoscope and walk. And so instead of that, I'd rather attach it to Astronomy Domine, not because of just this name, but because of how the feeling is kind of the same. Like
So in that there's that descending chord progression, right? In Astronomy Domine, and I think, and there's that similarity here with that descending music.
Exactly,
which really pulls it together. And when it starts reaching the climax, like they really start going all out. Like at the 8 minute 40 second mark, you've got the riff playing, and the music is like switching between the channels, like they're just gone all out with that editing. And the beats and everything, it really reaches like this loud, almost tribal climax, right?
Yeah. I mean, Interstellar Overdrive, just, especially as I say, from the drum roll, getting from there to the mid part, which has all the alterations, the different, I don't know, like beats, music, rhythms, instruments and noises that they use. To coming back to the same point where it started from, like closing the bracket, closing the bracket, right?
and I think another sort of point, and I sort of made this in the first song as well, the astronomy Domine, and it was that there is that tribal feeling, and I guess what I mean by that, just thinking about it, is when you're listening to very sort of what we call like tribal music, but music that sort of has that religious aspect attached to it, like it's a prayer or a chant. And when you listen to that type of music, it's not always very melodious or smooth, right? There's a lot of harsh instruments, and there's a lot of like people making noises, like chanting stuff out and banging instruments. And sometimes it's in order and sometimes it's not, right? But you're using your instrument to like communicate. And a lot of these songs, like especially this track and the first track, it has that feeling where like they're just banging on the instruments and they're all like in their own world. They've found their own like connection to the track or to the music. But it's all happening together and it creates this atmosphere. It's like you're going through like a shaman ceremony or something, right? While listening to the music, which I think is what Sid was doing with his LSD and right. And some of the music. You create this like shaman like environment where you're expecting some tribal music.
I think I'd rather want to skydive with Interstellar Overdrive playing in my ears, like just going down.
Just
all
don't
the
get
way
too lost
down
in the track, you know.
I'll stop.
Yeah,
I'll
remember to
like
pull your
forget
chute.
to check my meter and like
Pull your chute,
damn. Too late.
Try it. Better luck next time. Yeah.
So after Interstellar Overdrive, we've got the Gnome.
And you go from a 9-minute 41-second track to a 2-minute 14-second track. That's Pink Floyd.
Boom.
Tell you a story about a little man, if I can.
So one thing that kind of will always stand out in the song is the look at the sky,
Yeah.
look at the river, isn't it good?
That whisper.
The
yeah.
way he said, it's so creepy to come inside a children's storybook, right? Because it's. I mean, the Gnome is where even though I never, I had not researched on it before, and the Gnome is where I kind of knew, like, okay, this is just a story, like, it's one of the Sleeping Beauty 7 dwarfs kind of thing, and it kind of made sense, and that's kind of what it is. But that bit where he comes in with, Sid Barrett comes in with like, look at the sky, look at because it's mainly Richard Wright singing, but like at this part where he just comes in with a husky singing, it just kind of changes the whole vibe of the song, which kind of, I mean, there's just an element which kind of adds or changes and changes the whole perspective of the song. Right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's a happy-go-lucky, like, there's a gnome who lives in his
you've
house.
got like a tone and then it suddenly crashes and changes that tone.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. You don't expect it.
It's like a crash landing, basically.
And it goes to that part about being unpredictable or like subverting expectations a little bit, right? But yeah, I think it's.
I don't think that was the plan. Like, I think that the plan was that it's gonna sound good.
Well, I mean, whatever the plan was, because I think again with Sid Barrett, like you can also question: did he ever have a plan? Right. But I think this track, I guess it's a bit strange though, because you're coming off of Interstellar Overdrive, and then you suddenly get into like this childlike wonder again. it's a little jarring in that sense, where it's like, wait, this is on the same album, and they're like right next to each other. Again, from like almost a 10-minute track to a 2-minute track. But it's interesting. There's some parts of it. So when he says like grumble, and then drinking their wine, like he really like the R's there. Like he really sort of he goes hard on that R. And he does it in a few of the tracks, but he doesn't do it for all the words. It's some of the words. In this track, it's the grumble, drinking their wine. So it's very like, it's
drinking their wine.
Yeah, but the first time when he sings it, there's like he extends that R. And again, it takes you out a little bit. Like it makes your skin crawl a little bit, like that whisper, where it sort of comes out of nowhere. But it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, the whisper is like
Yeah.
whisper kind of it, because you're listening to this, this melodious kind of common children tune.
Yeah.
Like it's quite a common children tune. The look at the sky, look at the river.
But when you whisper it,
even
it sort of
that is-
changes it. So
But it changes the whole meaning of. I like. What do you mean? Look at the sky. I don't want to look at the sky.
yeah,
Stuff like that, and it's again like it gives me the good shivers, if shivers at all.
and I think it goes to that. It's also they've taken it, and I think what could have been a super simple song, right? Like a simple tune, simple lyrics. Again, it's simple, but it's so complex the way it's put together. Because especially if you're listening to like the stereo version, where you've got like the voices in the right channel, like panned quite towards the right, and the music is panned quite towards the left channel. And I think about halfway through, when the bells start playing along, they're very delicate. Like you would miss it if it was a normal track. But in this track, the bells are like center pan, so they feel like they're playing on the top of your head, and they're very delicate. They're the volume is very low compared to the sound of the voice coming from the right channel, right, and the music from the left channel.
Yeah.
So again, the way it's mixed, I think it makes it so unique. There's like a sweetness to it when that bells are there, but at the same time, it's very uniquely put with that whisper and the way he sort of sings it.
Yeah, I think the whisper kind of takes the highlight of the song, for at least for me, because it's it's like a children's book that you're reading out, and then hang on.
Yeah, what's happening here? It's turning into a horror story.
And like that's how it goes. But I think the idea. I think the idea would have been for Sid Barrett was just, keep it simple. It's supposed to be music. It's supposed to be entertaining. And what's more entertaining than children's books?
Yeah.
Right? Like there's nothing more imaginative than a children's book. And let's just take stuff from there. And sure, like he was definitely influenced by bigger writers as well, but these books kind of drew him into this songwriting phase, and like after the Gnome, we go to chapter 24.
Action brings good fortune. Sunset.
There's a lot of Eastern mysticism kind of in this song, which is also written by Sid Barrett, and it's mostly felt like a chanting throughout, like following loops and connecting words, and that's how the whole song goes. Like that's how the rhythm of the song is.
Yeah.
And the lyrics are inspired from chapter 24 of the ancient Chinese tome, I Ching, the Book of Changes, it's called, translated. And that's where it comes from. And I think in this song itself is when Barrett's singing style really comes out in the way, in the long ending notes and the double voice echo feels that there is in Pink Floyd song.
Yeah.
Like that's where it starts.
It originates.
The long notes at the end, at the last word, and the double voices at the last few words and stuff like that. I think that's where it sort of comes together, and we see it later in the album as well as the song.
Yeah. I think you really hit the nail on the head there with like the prayer or chant part, because like, and I've said it for some of the other tracks, but in this track especially, like the way it's like, he's reading out like the instructions of the divination, I Ching or whatever. And as he's saying it, like a priest or someone, you got like the cymbals like just clashing on the left channel, right? Like someone ringing a bell in like a temple sort of thing. And you got the organ in the right, so it really like has that mystical quality to it, like it's a prayer. But one other thing I noticed again in this track, he does that thing where when he pronounces the R, it's like brings return instead of brings return. But he doesn't do it all the time because
I haven't noticed that actually.
so he says like
I have to
brings
listen
return,
to it
and then he
over,
says,
yeah.
and then he says change returns success. He pronounces that returns fine, but then when he says error, it's again like he does that R thing. If you hear back, it's and it's not on all of the verses. It's very picky where he uses that like R, like brings return.
So that's also one point that Waters points out as where he lost it with Barrett was they were jamming to some song, and I don't remember if it was a song from this album or the next one. They were jamming to this song, and so he's trying to pick it off from Barrett, right? Waters is. And he's like, okay, play it again. And he plays it again. And then he tries it. And he's like, okay, play it again. Like, Waters asking Barrett to play it again.
And he plays it differently.
Okay, play it again.
Oh, I've read about this. Again. Yeah. They thought he was like messing with them on purpose or something.
And then about like fifth or sixth time, Waters realizes he's actually playing a note differently each time he's playing it.
Yeah.
That's why it's fucking it up.
Yeah. I remember reading something.
That's also like part of Waters' decision to like kind of decide like, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Can't do this.
So I wonder if it's the same sort of thing here with the R's and his pronunciation. Because I didn't notice it in the first, 6-7 tracks, right? And the Gnome is the first one.
I think it's more like there's no structure that Syd Barrett wants to follow. It's just something that, it's not something that, it's art. You're not supposed to follow.
Yeah.
First of all, there's rule number one of art.
That there are no rules.
You're not supposed to follow.
Yeah.
There are no rules. Rule number 2. The first rule is you're not supposed to follow.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do your bit. That's it. And that's what he was doing. And I think he did quite well until he got lost in doing it. But I really, we can really get in deep into this when we get to the album. But I don't know how Dark Side of the Moon would have sounded with Syd Barrett being part of it. Or if Dark Side of the Moon would have existed if Syd Barrett was part of it. But
what if?
Interesting thought. Yeah, never mind. But going on.
Tales
what do you
from
think?
the multiverse.
We should do like this episode of, what if Syd Barrett was Dark Side of the Moon's part, and recreate that song in a Syd Barrett fashion. Never mind.
Okay.
So getting a little deeper into the lyrics, it's 7 is the number of the young light. It forms when darkness is increased by 1. So darkness, 6 increased by 1 equals 7. Right? 7 is the young light when everything returns to 1. The day the Lord rests. Genesis is a copy of Fools. It's like set. I mean, that's a Chinese way of saying it. And after that, it's like, just as in Genesis, the Lord rests and it returns to the beginning of the cycle. So that's what chapter 24 is all about. Like, it's a cycle of solstice and precession and the great solar year and round and round. And rounding on that, we then get to another Syd Barrett. I think this is the first one where Syd Barrett like explores like comparative study of human and imaginative life. The song is The Scarecrow.
He stood in a field where barley grows.
So the song has this like existentialist kind of theme as Barrett like kind of puts the whole scene in place. Like he puts himself in place of Scarecrow, or like a Scarecrow in place of him. Is like how I took it in, as well as like the meanings that I found all over.
It's like comparing
Well,
himself
that
to like a
it's
scarecrow in a
right.
sense of like, and I guess
Because with something like he says, his existence without a Scarecrow, who, while sadder, is also resigned to his fate. Like that's the theme he's kind of taking over, and that he's sad because he's just there, but he's also okay to his fate. So like that's the comparison he's brought together, and there was actually a short video of the song which was like a newsreel for some paper, and it features the band in an open field with an actual Scarecrow just kind of fooling around. And then there's a second video which was but this was with Gilmore this time. And this was in 1968. So 67 is when Barrett left. But 67 is when the first album came out, and 67 is when Barrett left, because Shine On You Crazy Diamond. And I don't know, does this song, I don't like, there's this part where it felt like a lot like Beatles, like mainstream Beatles harmonies coming together, which is, I think,
parts of it definitely, like when they say where barley grows, and like you got the harmonies and everything, it does sort of evoke that a little bit. But I think in terms of writing and what you were saying, this is definitely one of the more like, I want to say almost like a thought out song, in the sense of the lyrics have a sort of a deeper connection, and there's some existentialism going on, right? And you can sort of dive deep. I mean, you can in a lot of the other tracks as well. But I think, again, this track loses that childlike wonder we had in some of the other tracks. And this is it's a much more mature in terms of lyrical content, right? Although you could argue, so like, it is about a scarecrow in a sense. And that's, again, there is that childlike aspect to it. But the way they've gone about, or the way he's written it, is definitely different. I will say that like the intro music, to me, again, it reminds of like, it's like Eastern, folk music, or like Asian folk music. There's that sort of quality to it.
Yeah, I think this one specifically kind of, it's not psychedelic as the other Barrett songs were. For example, Astronomy Domine, and a few, Matilda Mother even.
Yeah.
The Gnome. I mean, they're all stories that he's literally reading out. But this one was, I mean, I think it was kind of him experimenting with this and that.
Yeah, it's a different style of it's a different play style. The lyrics as well as the music and the way it's put together.
For the first album, and for them, like, they're venturing
as
out
a band
into this. And and this I think was a good attempt, and makes sense, and it's a lot. I mean, again, it has the psychedelic element. Which
I think especially those, like
random beats, random chords, chord progressions, and just a random theme of things happening.
And I think especially like
the Scarecrow, like you won't think of it.
Yeah, and I think so. Like the last like 39-40 seconds of the song as well. Like the song sort of ends and it's just music, like the last part. And there's like a quiet, because I think the song itself isn't that long. It's like 2 minutes long. Yeah. And then 40 seconds of that 2 minutes is just music towards the end before it ends, which again, I think it just feels very different. You know from what you'd expect a normal song with a normal song structure to go. So it's still in that like Pink Floyd realm of being slightly sort of
I
experimental and
mean, yeah,
different.
all the songs in this album are very much in the Pink Floyd realm. Like there'd be songs in different albums of Pink Floyd, which you can probably say, you know, it's something like this, something like that. But I think this is just this that this that that this this that. You know, it just kind of goes that haywire connection throughout the album, and you know, getting to the last one, which is Barrett's last song of or with Pink Floyd. He did create his own albums and own music later in the 80s.
Didn't he have?
90s.
I thought he had some participation in the next album. Was it Saucer Full of Secrets or whatever? Or maybe I'm wrong. I thought he did have some involvement.
That's where, yeah. So that's.
But
so
he didn't. I don't think. I guess he didn't lead any song, like in this album,
They
right?
used they used his recording from previous sessions and they put it over there. That's how it worked. Like the next album of Floyd was kind of like you know, coming together of their jamming sessions. Saucer Full of Secrets, which was again like Amagama or
No, I
I'm
think
not
it's Saucer
sure
Full of Secrets is the next one.
years.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was something like that, and
Okay.
but this was Barrett's last album with them as a band, and this is when, you know, they just kind of knew that he's not able to, and it was sad for them, and I mean, I can imagine it would have sucked. It would have sucked ass, but yeah, like, you know, mad genius. What can you do? And it's just like this attitude through the song. It's like this positive attitude
Which song are we talking
through
about?
Barrett songs throughout.
Oh, you mean
There's
Barrett
this
song in general.
Yeah, like throughout, like they're childlike, positive attitudes, and that's how we get to the last one, which is Bike. It's a good song. It's a happy, good song, optimistic, and it's got that really nostalgic, optimistic feel to it. Like, if I had a bike, I would ride it if you like. And it's just a classic harmony with, you know, like with a Barrett style theme to it. But besides that, you know, adding those elements, adding those end elements, as I would say specifically, and you know, just throughout, it's just the rhythm, the theme, the elements, and everything just form this whole song together in a different way, because the end is not related to the song at all, while it's just like, you know, those toys, this what were the duck toys, like making sounds, and the clappers were used in the previous song, and you know, those kind of stuff was used throughout the albums, which I haven't read anywhere, but I can make out, like, you know, that's how
you
you
hear the sound effects.
That's what it. I don't think it's anything else besides that, but stuff like that, it just kind of makes it stand out because it's nostalgic while it's also not childish. I don't know, right? Like it's not childish, but it acquires the theme of our childhood.
Yeah, I think
Maybe.
there's definitely an element. I think the music and there's like a cheeriness to it, which it's like that childlike wonder and that positive attitude, or however you want to put it. But I have to
Yeah.
say, so I think this song, it does, again, it goes back to more like, it's one of those, again, snappier songs, right? And it starts off, like, you starts off with the singing immediately. But again, it feels like a classic British rock song. The way, like, the music is put together, especially in the beginning, and the singing. But I have to say that the sound effects, for example, when he says, like, you're the kind of girl that fits into my world. And you got like that
Yeah.
woo sound. And then
I mean, the whole story of the song is completely different. Like, he's borrowing a bike from someone. He's not wanting to give it to someone. Then there's stuff happening with the bike, and then there's stuff. I mean, it's all like abstract story of a bike.
it's sort of,
Right.
it's like what we were saying about Sid Barrett's writing as well, even before, right? Like with Lucifer Sam, for example, or Astronomy Dominates. It's taking some simple concept and he's just sort of going all the way with it. But
Yeah.
it's because I think musically, so going back to that line, right, when he says, when you're the kind of girl that fits into my world, and you got that whoosh like sound effect. And then there's like almost like gunshots you can hear just after that line. And it really pulls your attention back to the song. But it's one of those things where, again, if you're not paying attention, it sounds like a snappy, catchy pop song. But if you start paying attention, the lyrics are like, again, just about a bike. And then the music, right? You've got all types of sound effects. And like I said, those like gunshots that pull you back. And interestingly, so the third time when he repeats that line, you have that wow sound effect, but there's no gunshots. So they've done something with it differently. And it's not repetitive, but the way they use those sound effects, it comes back for the fourth time. And then, it's suddenly the song just slows down. I think there's, yeah. Yeah. Reminds me of, like, in American Pie when they do, like, I think it's like the last verse or whatever, right? Just like acoustic. And then, the song sort of, I guess, ends at the 1 minute 50-second mark. And then you just have those ambient sounds and like noises. There's like, part of it sounds like coins falling. That reminds me of Money, Pink Floyd, right? That opening with the cash register.
Yeah, there's a few songs that I got reminded of later Floyd work, which I got reminded of in this album itself. And we will get to it when we get to it. But yeah, there's a few songs that came to my mind right when I heard these songs.
Yeah. And like the last 20 seconds as well, they're like so freaky. That voice in the last like 20 seconds. And it sort of leaves you on that freaky note. Right.
But anyway, like this as I mentioned before, this is a great album to get into because it was difficult for me to make notes for this album. And I mean, like, as we mentioned, like Bike being the last song, it's such a positive song, but it's also like it's a positive, nostalgic, but also has this dark dilemma to it because I have a bike, you can ride it if you like, but it's not mine because I borrowed it from someone.
Yeah.
So, stuff like that. Like, hang on.
It's like some random conversation which, I don't know, it's like he's got a mouse and he's called, Gerald, the mouse.
If you want things, I can buy you things if you want things, but that's it.
Yeah. It's just
it's simple. You want it, okay, I'll buy it for you. But do you want it?
It's like a child's ramblings, right? Like a kid or like a child going on about something like, oh, I got this bike and you can have this bike, but no, I borrowed it.
Pretty much.
And it has that type. So and that sound effect they use at the end, like the one I was saying is freaky. So actually, I believe it's like a tape recording of the band members laughing, but played in reverse, which we're sort of used to doing. So they took the a sound of them laughing, they played it in reverse, and they put it right at the end, which is that really freaky sound that you hear at the end. Yeah, it really makes my skin crawl.
Sound engineers.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what they are. They just know it's gonna sound good.
Yeah.
Put that. Use that. That's gonna sound good.
Yeah. Yeah. Having fun.
But yeah, that's. I think that's what Floyd has been all about, and like being loaded into Floyd this all of this time, and watching their live concerts, I have one insight to give, which is that if an artist doesn't need to cheer their audience to sing along with them and the audience is enjoying, is when that's a good artist.
Or at least a good live performer. Yeah.
You don't have to sing with anyone. You just have to sing it.
Yeah, try singing along
or not
Talk
sing
H.
it. Like, however.
Yeah. That sounds fun.
But yeah, that's just a little bit about Floyd, as much as we could in the first go. And we'll be trying for more and more of Floyd as soon as possible. But this was so interesting to get into, because it helped me understand like this whole sound of Floyd and where it comes from, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was very important to understand, for me at least. And I think now I can, because I know David Gilmour has taken the mantle of Syd Barrett, kind of. Well, he kind of.
When we get to it, yeah.
When we get to it, but he's just taken the mantle of it. So like now, if we have to explore, we've already shot in the right direction. And Syd Barrett he has more albums if you want to listen to it, but this is an album that will interest anyone, because it's got a lot of different things happening, and it's got a lot of nostalgia. So yeah, do you have anything to add to?
Yeah, well, I don't know about adding, but I think as closing thoughts, I've, because I said I'd heard like some of the other later albums, and to me that was like really the Pink Floyd sound that I was sort of used to, and I think coming back and listening to this album, I am sort of keen to, I guess, map out their journey a little bit to see how that sound evolves through the albums that are to come. And, the influence that Syd Barrett's had over this album, as well as, I guess, that influence that remains with the band as it evolves. So I'm sort of keen to map that out and go through that discography a little bit, and learn, as they learned, as they went through this journey. But yeah, it's definitely a very interesting experience listening to this.
So interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be so interesting to, the way they make their songs, the way they produce sounds. But yeah. So we'll see you next time with, guess, another crazy video. See you soon, guys. Cheers. The song like has this existent. The song has this like existentialism